The season prediction for the Chicago Bulls. So before we start today's video, I want to hear your comment down below. What is your prediction for the season? Let me hear your thoughts down below. Next week or in the following probably 2 weeks, I'll have the season preview come out for the Bulls. Now, obviously, it's a pivotal year, and I think, obviously, this is a team. I think there's two things. Either if Lonzo Ball, I had this weird thought that, okay, this is not what I think. This is the dark horse. I'll tell you what I really think is going to happen. But hit that like and subscribe button. Go check out my work at USA Today Sports, hoopshype.com. But they didn't keep Caruso. This is my dark horse theory, and then we'll tell my real theory. But they traded Caruso for Giddey because, you know, the upside that Giddey gives you, like, people forget. I truly do believe Giddey can be a 7-7 borderline all-star point guard who's arguably top 15, top 10, and be like a league average shooter who's also, you know, is just a solid player. Like, I really do think Josh Giddey is like that, and they could extend him for cheap and just have the point guard of the future who makes like people better. And he was playing out of position in the Thunder, and it wasn't their fault. And I think they knew they weren't going to be able to extend Caruso, so it was the best value they were going to get for him. Now, I think the other reason why they were fine with letting Caruso is that if Lonzo Ball does return, I think the expectation is like Lonzo Ball is not going to be like what he used to be. So I think they're looking at this and they're like, hey, Lonzo, can you just be like Alex Caruso? Like, you were already just as good, if not a better defender. But like, don't worry about like being like, you know, a point genius or like a scoring guy. Just like basically be a defensive guy who guards 1 through 3, hits open threes, finishes like easy shots, doesn't do too much, and just basically become the Alex Caruso 2.0 and just replace his role on this team as part of your recovery, and will extend you. And then Josh Giddey plays your role, because people will forget how good this team was before Lonzo Ball got hurt. I think they were like the number 1 seed, and like I want to say they were like 20-5 at one point, or they went on a 20-5 run. They were very good, and just have that go down. And then, you know, Zach LaVine is allegedly bought in, so that is a possibility, and they'll surprise people, and they end up being, you know, one of the top 6 seeds. I think that's not likely, but that's like the dark horse scenario. Right now, they're expected to, according to ESPN, to have a win total of 30.5, so like 31 games, which if you look at last year's NBA standings, that would make them they would be like fighting for a play-in spot. That would actually have one game behind the 11th seed, which was the Brooklyn Nets, which, yeah. And the reason why I think I said this with the Charlotte Hornets, and I think, again, you could say with the Bulls, I think the Bulls will probably be like the Utah Jazz the past 2 years. Look competitive, look like they have like guys, like core pieces, long-term in place, and then just like at the end of the season, just let the bottom fall out. Just let it come out, because they don't own their draft pick. That's, I always think, is a great indicative. So basically, the Bulls do not own their draft rights this season, but they can circumvent it if they are a playoff team. So, not a playoff team, my apology, if they're a lottery team. So if they're not a playoff team, the Spurs won't get the Bulls pick, but they have to be, you know, top 10 in the draft lottery. So if you're a playing team or too high up in odds, you basically lose your pick to the Spurs. And we all know, even if this team surprises people, I don't think they're going to be better than the 6th seed or the play-in, and you're not winning a championship like that. So they're probably going to let the bottom fall out so they can guarantee that they have a top 10 pick and don't let the Spurs get their pick. So I expect that to be very true. Now, what do I think of this team? I mean, I think if they're smart, I think Josh Giddey's agent is telling them, let the guy play off on this contract, and you can have first priority and restricted free agency next year, while they're like, we'd like to extend you right now because we know your value's down. And that he's trying to like get his value up. But the Bulls currently, I think this is if we look at what the lineup is expected to look like, I think obviously Josh Giddey, Kobe White, Zach LaVine. I think since those Oklahoma City Thunder days with Billy Donovan, and he ran the Dennis Schroeder, Shea, Chris Paul, I think he's been kind of infatuated with the 3-guard lineup, and he runs it back with LaVine, White, and Giddey. That way he has Asseo Sumo as the 6th man, and then he also has Lonzo Ball and Devin Carter as like 3 guards off the bench. And then Pat Williams and Nikola Vucevic as the 2 front court guys. I think Jalen Smith, again, if you go with this idea that Lonzo Ball isn't going to be a scoring guy and you're going to go with the 3-guard lineup of LaVine, Kobe White, and Josh Giddey, I think Smith is going to be kind of like a Bobby Portis light, be their microwave 6-man. People don't realize his numbers. He's like a really efficient rebounder and scorer. He can stretch the ball out and protect the rim. So I think he's going to be a modern day version, like a more modernized, younger version of Bobby Portis out there, but the light version. I think they'll slowly bring in Matas Buzelis next to Williams or next to these guys in certain things, but I think they'll slowly bring him on as just like a role player who's going to be kind of like their Swiss Army knife who can do a little bit of everything. They won't ask too much. And then, like I said, Javon Carter, Lonzo Ball, and Asseo Sumo will be backups. I think they're trying to figure out what Dalen Terry is. Is he a wing? Is he a guard? At Arizona, he is a point guard. That's what I thought he was. I thought he was a 6'7" point guard, but for some reason, it looks like they're running him out the 2 or the 3 a lot of the time. So I don't even know then. But they also have Chris Duarte, who I'm not necessarily a fan of. His rookie year I was, but after that, everything's been downhill, and my intel says he could be someone who gets cut. Same thing with Julian Phillips. I think, guys, Kenny Lofton and EJ Liddell and Onir Bitem and Marcus Domask are all competing for 2 ways. DJ Stewart's on the 2-way already, and so is Adama Sinogo. DJ could get cut, but I think DJ is going to stay on the 2-way. I think EJ Liddell will be the 3rd 2-way, and I personally would not be surprised if they cut Chris Duarte and Julian Phillips to keep Kenneth Lofton, Onir and Taylor Horton Tucker. I think Marcus Domask is just a G League guy, and I think that's basically it. So, but thing is that even if they cut Chris Duarte, well, I guess it would be fine, because if they put Chris Duarte and Julian Phillips, they cut them, and then they keep Kenneth Lofton, Onir and Taylor Horton Tucker on regular contracts, put EJ Liddell on the 3rd 2-way, and then Domask goes to the G League on an Exhibit 10. They'd be fine. And plus, Chris Duarte isn't expiring, and so is Julian Phillips, so it'd only be on their books for this season, so they don't really care. But again, I expect them to let the bottom fall out as you get closer to the playoffs. Let me hear your thoughts.